For as long as there's
fair competition
and competitive
people of character,
there will be sports uncorrupted.
Episode 2.
Suck it up now so you don't have to suck it in later.
Running, an activity practiced by about 66 million North Americans. Some run, and others run, in quotation marks.
What does running do for you? I've been running, since high school, and it just feels really good to run. I had a lot of support in the beginning with running, and started to notice that I was getting better at it, or just making little improvements, so got encouraged to do more of it and work harder at it, so it became a little bit of a obsession in that sense. I just like the feeling of moving, and it just feels good to run. It's also it's been a great way to integrate as well, and of course it's also, for me, it's led into competing, so it's just been a great outlet that way too, and it's hard to imagine not running, really.
4 years ago, 2012, and our runner rarely missed a day as he held the idea of a top 3 finish close. He finishes second, but that doesn't matter. His wife, you see, is sick. Our runner and she are inseparable. It's 1 year later, and our runner is on a hospital bed getting cut into, preparing proudly to give up one of his 2 working kidneys so his wife could have 1 kidney that works. She, remember, was in bad shape.
As a recipient, it's way different to consider going through with the surgery, because when you're at the point where you're, already undergoing dialysis, you kind of think, well, surgery is a great solution. It sounds like everything's going to go back to normal, but for a donor, it's obviously this huge risk and all these questions, and people say it should be okay, and with Jason's age and he was in good health, they say, chances are you'll recover well and everything will be back to normal, but you never know. And as somebody who just lives day to day and could have potential risk is one thing, but given that he was still and still is in his prime of competing, it was a huge chance to take, and it just really, even the fact that he was willing to go through with it and hear all of the risks and still went through with it was just like the biggest sacrifice I think anybody could ever make, and definitely has ever made for me. So there truly are no words to ever say thank you to someone that would do that for you.
Sports Uncorrupted.
Weight Room Insight.
It's just to look good naked. It's just to look good naked, right? It's just to look good naked, right? So that's the only reason I'm here.
Is that why you do it?
Yeah, look good naked. Try to live a little healthier, right? It's your ship that you're piloting through your life. You've got to take care of it now. I have Crohn's disease too, so that's what got me into the gym, is to keep on top of that, right? Because I got down to 140. I sit at 168 right now, but that's like lean muscle. Before it was just like me. So I put on all that weight, like 30 pounds of muscle over about 7 years, just doing volume like that. That's what works for me. And I don't do super max stuff because it hurts the joints. I'm not going to make money doing this. Like, if you don't get it now, you're not going to get it later, right? So suck it up now so you don't have to suck it in later. Plus, I just think it's cool to lift heavy stuff. Like, it's powerful. In the morning, you have 200 pounds on your chest. That's pretty cool. Like, you're going to do more before 9 than everyone's going to do all day, right? So, like, that's, I don't know, it just makes me feel good that I can do something like that, right?
My son played soccer since he was 5 years old, and he was goalie, and he was defenseman, and he was actually very versatile, so he can play almost any position. And when he was 13, he was having super fun. It's always a lot of fun when you're playing with your friends. But at a certain age, you always feel that soccer gets that much more competitive. And it got to a point where he was loving it, but the next season was coming around, and they were deciding on players. And the coach who he's been his coach for many years, was pressured by the association to win. And you need to take this player from this jurisdiction because he's going to add to your team to make it a winning team. Which means you have to cut one of your players. And Oliver, who's friends with the team, who gels with the team, was cut because he was maybe the least aggressive player at the time, not the most talented, but he got along with everybody and he was good and he played his position well, but he wasn't always consistent. This player that was mostly consistent was told to be brought into the association. So the coach came to him and said, that you can't play. That's when the politics of sports entered into a youth and teenage organization. And it was a big turnoff.
Sports Uncorrupted.
Jason runs, has for a long time. Jason presented his wife with his kidney so she could have one that works. So far it has worked, and today Colleen is thriving. There is something else about Jason and Colleen. From birth, Jason has never seen a sunrise or a sunset. Colleen remembers several sunsets, but none with her own eyes over the last 16 years. Jason and Colleen. Insight.
What do you see? As far as eyesight, very little really. A little bit of shadows. Could be a fence or a person or, a tree. But I wouldn't know what it was. I just know it's something. Like what I'm taking in is sort of sensory, as far as sound or just sort of feeling really, or smell. So.
What do you see in your mind?
It's a lot of sound for sure. Just sort of images that come from sound. I don't even know I call them images. Wouldn't be images in the same way you would probably, most people would think of images, but yeah, it's a difficult question to really answer clearly, but even for me to say, to anyone to close their eyes, I think their experience would be quite different from mine because I'm obviously quite used to it, so.
Your level of sight?
Zero. Zero. Kind of like a dark gray, I would say. I had perfect vision up until 2000. I still picture things, I think, which gives me an advantage, having seen before, because people can describe something, and even if it's brand new and I've never seen it before, somebody can say, picture this and add this piece to it, and I can kind of get an idea in my mind, or I can maybe picture how I feel people look or that kind of thing. So yeah. I guess what I see in my mind depends on the moment. Probably on a day-to-day basis, I'm actually, funny enough, happier since I lost my sight. I obviously went through a big transition, but it brought me so many other things and wonderful gifts in my life that never ever would have happened. I've met other friends. I met Jason, who I never would have met, different job opportunities. Jason and I say almost on a daily basis that we met someone or spoke to someone or was helped by somebody, perfect strangers that never ever ever would have even noticed us twice if we weren't blind. It just gives this feeling of meeting people that would not have been placed in your path. Of course, I'm not going to say there aren't times that I wish I could just pick something up and read it or know what color it is or be able to quickly scan it, but on a day-to-day basis, I can't count how many times I've just walked home and felt like, yeah, life is great and it's happy and we're really, really lucky, and I think overall that's truly how we feel, so very fortunate.
We actually wish people would probably ask more questions because, it's just about kind of like trying to break down barriers in a way, and we want to be a part of everybody's world. We want them to be a part of our world too, and I mean, the worlds aren't that different really at all, I don't think, but people are afraid or do hold back, or they're not really sure what they should or shouldn't say and whatnot. So I think Colleen and I are all about just trying to make people feel comfortable with us and, just sort of, break down those like walls or barriers that exist or whatever,
I seem to be breathing a little heavier than you.
You're just getting warmed up.
Can you imagine a life without running?
I've had times where I haven't run for, several weeks, and I think even after a couple of days, I really feel it. I'm sure I'm grumpier and just out of balance. Because running really, it's what I do for sure in terms of competing, and I'm really driven to do it in that sense. But it's also just good for me. I think it's good for for everybody to have an outlet or an activity, and it's a chance for me to just process things, think about things, and I'm on my own a lot with running, and yeah, you just deal with things in your mind and come up with ideas, and it's a lot of those sort of intangible things too, I think, that running does for me. And so yeah, it's really hard to imagine a time where I wouldn't be able to do it, and I've been really fortunate. I haven't had too many injuries or long layoffs, and hope to be able to do it for a long time.
My name is Jason Dunkerley. I'm a 4-time Paralympic athlete in the sport of athletics, hoping to compete in Rio later this summer.
My name is Colleen. I am the wife and #1 cheerleader of Jason Dunkerley, and very much hoping to be traveling to Rio to cheer him on for his 5th Paralympics.
Sports Uncorrupted.
Thanks for listening. Let's do this again.